Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session, we are going to see current affairs of 26 December 2025. So let's get started with our discussion. And first of all, I will let you know what are the topics of the day. And today we have lots of topics that we have to do in our class. So first topic is Modi opens Rashtra Prerana Sthal in Lucknow. So here you may get a question regarding what is this Rashtra Prerana Sthal in your prelims, and this is very important from your governance and as well as from history point of view, guys. And next topic is National Intelligence Grid linked to NPR with details of 119 crore resident, says government. So here you have to know about what is this National Intelligence Grid and as well as what is this NPR. And these two are very important from your security and as well as governance point of view, which comes at a GS paper 3 and as well as GS paper 2. And next topic is Constitution of India released in Santali language. So you know about your constitution, right? It is part of your polity from GS paper 2. And now this Constitution of India is released in Santali language. So it is a milestone. So here you may get a question regarding the Santali language in your prelims, and you have to focus on the details of this Santali language. And this topic is important from GS paper 2 under polity. And next topic is India will soon become self-reliant in semiconductors. So this is a statement which is mainly made by our government delegates. Here you have to see so far what are the steps taken by the government for making of the semiconductors in our country. And even many a times UPSC asked prelims based questions regarding the semiconductors. And there is a very high chance of getting question once again in your 2026 prelims, and you have to focus on that. And next topic is doping menace. India must make National Anti-Doping Agency well-funded and independent. Especially in the sports, what is the problem here is athletes, they will be taking especially certain kinds of drugs so that will increase their stamina. That is called as doping. So here this doping is not accepted in the sports. So for that, to protect or to prevent this kind of incidents of doping, here our government came up with this National Anti-Doping Agency. But the problem with this agency is there is no proper funding and it is not independent. So because of this, there may be a question regarding this National Anti-Doping Agency in your prelims. And next topic is a year of dissipating promises for Indian foreign policy. So here this article is talking about Indian foreign policy, and this article is talking about in last 1 year, that is in 2025, what are the updates we did and what are the advantages of our foreign policy and where we are falling behind. All these things which mainly said in this article, and we have to see about our Indian foreign policy, especially with different countries, how it had been changed. And this topic is important from GS paper to under international nations. So these are the topics of the day. Okay. Now let us see the first article. Look at the title, guys. Now, Modi opens Rashtra Prerana Sthal in Lucknow. So please make a note. This is very important. Rashtra Prerana Sthal. Rashtra Prerana Sthal in Lucknow. And here directly in your UPSC Prelims 2026, you may get a question. So in how many kinds you can get a question here is recently Rashtra Prerana Sthal is in news. Consider the following statements. They'll give you 2 to 3 statements and they may ask you like which are correct or incorrect regarding this. Or else you may get a simple question. Recently Rashtra Prerana Sthal is in news. It is inaugurated in which place? They'll give you simply ABCD and they'll tell you Nagpur, Lucknow, Assam, like that. So they'll give you different options. In that way also UPSC can ask a question and you have to know clearly. So if you see this context, what this article is saying, our Prime Minister inaugurated Rashtra Prerana Sthal to honor the lives and ideals of former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Okay, to honor Atal Bihari Vajpayee, our present Prime Minister inaugurated this Rashtra Prerana Sthal. Why? Because this year 2025 marks 101 birth anniversary of this Vajpayee. That means you may also get question regarding this Vajpayee in your prelims. So you have to focus on this. What is this Rashtra Prerana Sthal? And next you have to say about even Vajpayee. So these are the two areas that you have to know well for this prelims 2026. Now let us see the article clearly and certain facts regarding this article that you need to know. Okay, if you are talking about this Rashtra Prerana Sthal, it is newly inaugurated National Memorial Complex. So what is this Rashtra Prerana Sthal? It is a memorial complex in Lucknow, which is located in which state? UP. And what are the key features of this memorial complex? So this site is around 65 acres, which is present near one river, Gomti River. Very, very important. So UPSC have the tendency to change the rivers, right? Already we saw in our PYQs. If there is one river, they'll change. For example, you may get question like this. Consider the following statements regarding this Rashtra Prerana Sthal. First one here is it is inaugurated in Lucknow to honor Vajpayee. So this will be a right statement. And second statement is it is located across Ganga River, or else it is located across Son River, or they will be changing the name of the river. It is near Gomti River. Very, very important. No one need of remembering this cost, but you have to see here. It includes 65-foot bronze statues of three prominent ideologues. First one is Atal Bihari Vajpayee and even Shyam Prasad Mukherjee. And next one is Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyaya. So these three persons statues are going to be there, and they are around 65-foot bronze statues. And not only that, there will be a lotus-shaped two-story state-of-art museum. And in this museum, what we will be having? We will be having the leader contributions and galleries, that is nothing but their photographs, and even poems, speeches, quotes, and immersive digital exhibits will be there in this museum as well. And next one here is, you have to remember, this was earlier a garbage dump, and this area was taken up by the government, and they made this kind of things. Obviously, what happens? It will also boost our tourism, and will create certain economy, and even we are protecting environment. So these three things are the advantages of this Rashtra Prerana Sthal. Okay, and if you see certain facts regarding this Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he was born on December 25th, 1924 in Gwalior, Madhya Pradesh, and he was 11th Prime Minister of India. And next important thing that you have to remember here is, he also joined Quit India movement in year 1942. And later he became one of the founding members of this Bharatiya Jana Sangh. Okay, yeah. So those points that you have to remember. And say this next article, guys. National Intelligence Grid linked to NPR with details of 119 crore residents, says government. So here you have to remember these two keywords. First one is National Intelligence Grid. Next one is NPR. So what is National Intelligence Grid? So it is nothing but, it is a platform where our police and as well as any other investigative agencies in India will be getting details regarding the criminals, right? So for example, if you're seeing any CID related any show, you will be saying that they will be matching that so-and-so names and as well as so-and-so details with whatever the information they have. That is nothing but your NAT grid. Okay. So NAT grid is nothing but National Intelligence Grid. It is a secure platform for police and as well as other investigating agencies to access government and as well as private databases in real time to get any data, okay, regarding the investigation of any case. Okay, this is NAT grid. Now what we are doing this integration of this NAT grid with NPR. What is NPR? National Population Register. So what we will have in this National Population Register? We will be having this family-wise details of around 119 crore residents of India. So why we are integrating? If we want to get details of people, if we want to investigate any crime, obviously we need to have the details. So for that details, now NAT grid is integrated with this NPR for faster information dissipation so that we can solve the crimes within a less time. Actually, the problem here is, whenever we are investigating any cases, if there is no proper details of any other members or anything, then what happens? It will become very difficult for our investigating agencies to chase the crime, right? So for that, we are now integrating this NAT grid with NPR. It will be helpful for now our police forces and as well as other investigating forces to chase the crimes and to solve the crimes. So that what happens, the time taken to solve the crimes will be obviously reduced. So because of this, what happened? There will be faster justice delivery system. And even what happens, there will be decreasing of pendency of cases before the courts also. That is the one important advantage of this integrating of this NAT grade with this NPR. Okay, here if you see this infographic, whenever you are reading articles, you have to see this infographic. So this infographic will give you the key information. So if you see this infographic, upgraded NAT grade tools support multi-source data collection and analysis. So now if this NAT grade is integrated with this NPR, now police forces, then they will be having the multi-sources data. Data can be there with this police forces, and even with that data now they can analyze what happened. And next one here is they're also using one tool called as Gandhiva, which is used for facial recognition and entity resolution as well. So as you know, if you're watching any CID series or any CID episode, sometimes some person will be seeing that person, and that person will be brought by the police, and one sketcher will be called, and that sketcher will be drawing the image. So that image now they will upload into their system, and they will be matching, right? So for matching, they will be using one tool. Please make a note. This tool is Gandhiva, Gandiva. So this Gandhiva is focusing on what? Facial recognition. So you may get this kind of question. Recently, Gandhiva is seen in news. What it is? It is a facial recognition tool used by police forces to identify the person and to match the person with their data. And details of all family members of a suspect or a person of interest, if available in NPR, it could be accessed to this platform. So if police forces are dealing with any case, if the family members of that person, if they are available in this NPR, now easily this NAT grid, and this police persons can access the data of even family members of that so and so person who is accused. And the data for NPR were first collected in 2010 with the first phase of 2011 census. And when we came up with this NPR in our country, NPR is done in 2011 census. So these are the things which are said in this article. And now let us see in detail regarding what is NAT grid, when we came up with this NAT grid, and what is the use of NAT grid. And even you have to see about what is NPR, why we came up with this NPR. And now we have to see now in 2025 why we are integrating this both and what are the advantages of integrating. You may get prelims based question and as well as mains based question from this area from internal security point of view, guys. Okay, as you all know that we are integrating this NAT grade with NPR, which is very useful for the police and as well as investigating forces now. If you say about this NAT grid, the full form of this NAT grid is National Intelligence Grid. It is a secure real-time intelligence sharing platform, and it comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. Please make a note, it comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. So UPSC has a tendency of changing the ministry. Okay, so here how can you expect a question? Recently NAT grid is in news, or consider the following statements regarding NAT grid. It is operated by Ministry of Defense. No, it is operated by Ministry of Home Affairs. Like that, statements can be changed by UPSC. Okay, so here NAT grid is a platform under Ministry of Home Affairs, and it will connect multiple government and private databases to provide authorized security and law enforcement agencies with quick access to information. It includes both government and as well as private. Sometimes UPSC can ask like it includes only government data. No, it includes both government and as well as private data. And we came up with this concept in 2009 after Mumbai terror attacks. After Mumbai terror attacks, we came up with this NAT grid. And later on, it became fully operational. And every month, it will be taking the request of more than 45,000 requests every month across our country. Okay, it is like perfectly working in our country. Without this NAT grid, many of the cases will not be solved for sure. And if you say about this NPR, the full form here is National Population Register. And this year, many articles regarding census were there. And we are going to start the census in 2026 or 2027, right? So here in this year, you may get question regarding census and also socio-economic census, or else you may get question regarding this NPR, National Population Registry. So you have to focus on this paragraph clearly. If there is any question regarding NPR, you have to solve that. So what is NPR? NPR is a database of usual residents in India regardless of citizenship, and it contains family-wise demographic data, and it contains around 119 crore residents data. And when we started this, we started collecting of data in this 2010. Alongside, we continued with this 2011 census, and later on 2015 we came up with this updation of data via door-to-door enumeration. Okay, so this is about National Population Register. And the linkage, what is the link between these two? Now government officials confirm that we are going to interlink with this NATGRID with this NPR now, because sometimes in investigation of any crimes we need to get even data of the family members. So for that we are integrating this so that we can have fast and as well as we can have efficient investigation process. That is the thing which mainly said, guys. That's it. Okay, especially to enhance investigation terrorism and organized crime, and as well as if there are any security threats in our country, we can use this NPR data now. And even it will address the gaps in past attacks by enabling quick cross-referring of data. And next one here is it will also support regarding the monitoring of illicit activities like terror financing, narcotics, and as well as arms smuggling. So these are also like different crimes that happens in India. So regarding this also we can use this NPR, and we can promote the use of indigenous platforms for securing of our data. We cannot depend on other countries' data, right? So for that, yes, this will be very useful. So these are the advantages of integrating of this NATGRID with NPR. Okay, now let us see the next article. See the title, guys. Constitution of India released in Santali language. Very, very important, and you may get question regarding the Santali language, guys, in your prelims for sure. Okay, so you know about your Constitution of India. Check once, are there any PYQs regarding Constitution directly? So just solve that PYQs of Constitution from polity point of view. Apart from that, you have to see about Santali language. So normally we have classical languages, we have scheduled languages. Scheduled languages are nothing but the languages which are given in our which schedule? How many scheduled languages are there in India? 22. And we have classical languages also. So how many classical languages we have? 8, 10, 11, very good. Anthropology, guys? 7. Okay, 7, 8, very good. So see, recently in 2024, which classical languages were added? How many classical languages were added in 2024? 5 or 4? That means totally how many are there? 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. Come on, tell me. 12. 12 or 11? 11, not 12. 11 classical languages were there. Okay, see about the scheduled languages. Already UPSC asked many a times questions regarding the scheduled languages, and in which year which languages were added. As of now, there are 22 scheduled languages. You have to see the year. That is clearly given in your Polity Lakshmikant book. And next one here is you have to see about classical languages. And recently in 2024, 5 languages were added to this classical languages list. So as of now, we have 11 classical languages in India. So make a list of those 11 classical languages, and you have to see what is the criteria to be satisfied to get any language to get the status of classical language. So what is the criteria? I think many of you might knowing that. 1500 to 2000 years back language it should be. Next one is it should have poems and as well as prose. Next, it should have script. Next, 1500 to 2000, that one will be covered that. So see about what is the criteria also. This is your work. Work on this classical languages and scheduled languages today, and make a note of classical languages and as well as scheduled languages. So regarding this classical languages, you have to make a note of what is the criteria need to be satisfied to get the status of this classical language for any language. Okay, now let us see here regarding this Santali language. So this article is saying that our Constitution of India was officially released in Santali language. Okay, so Santali language has a script. Please make a note. This script is called as Old Chiki script. Old Chiki script. Santali language is written in Old Chiki script. It is not Devanagari script. It is a separate script. And you may get questions regarding that Santali language or this Old Chiki script. Okay. Now let us see here, why was this constitution has released now in this Santali language. So actually the release of this constitution coincide with Good Governance Day. Good Governance Day, when we celebrate? Every year on December 25th, we will celebrate on the birth anniversary of Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Okay, so because of this, finally in this Old Chiki script, this constitution had been released. Why? It mainly aims to promote inclusivity by making constitution accessible for the Santali speakers in their native languages also. And we can enable them to better to understand their rights, understand their duties, what exactly written in constitution, everything. And what are the positive impacts? We can enhance constitutional literacy, especially Santali speaking tribal communities can know about what is written in the constitution, can know about their rights, and they will know about their duties. And next one here is, it will promote cultural preservation and as well as pride. And next one here is, it will also strengthen our inclusivity for marginalized groups, especially the rural areas and tribal areas. And next one here is, it will boost our educational as well as awareness programs to this tribal people as well. So these are the positive impacts of releasing constitution in the Santali language. And if you see about this facts regarding the Santali, Santali belongs to Munda subfamily of Austroasiatic language family. So in India, how many languages were there? Languages family, especially in anthropology, you will be coming across this. We have Sino-Tibetan, we have Dravidian, we have Austroasiatic. So this Austroasiatic includes mostly tribal languages. Can you recall that? Austroasiatic group of languages includes mainly tribal languages. So this Santali language is a tribal language, right? So this language comes under this Austroasiatic language. So normally we have Sino-Tibetan language, Indo-Aryan language, Dravidian language and Austroasiatic. We have 4 types of language systems in India. Okay, I'll show you. So if you draw a map of India, here we have which country? China. So here most of the languages that were spoken by the people comes under Sino-Tibetan languages. Here we have Tibet, here we have China. So here we have the mix of Indian languages with Chinese and Tibetan language. So this entire region, whatever the language is spoken by the people, they are called as Sino-Tibetan languages. Okay, South is called as Dravidian language. And here Aryans came in this route, yes or no? So here this part of people, whatever the languages they'll speak, they comes under Indo-Aryan, India plus Aryan languages. And here Odisha, Jharkhand, that region is very, very high in this tribal population, tribal concentration. Especially the people in this Andaman and Nicobar, we have tribals. And even in this Odisha, Chhattisgarh region, Jharkhand, West Bengal region also, we have very high concentration of these tribes. So tribal languages mostly comes under this Austroasiatic languages. And this Santali language also comes under this tribal language, which is an example of Austro-Indian language. So in this way, we have different languages. We classified them into 4 types: Sino-Tibetan, Indo-Aryan, Dravidian and Austroasiatic. Most of the tribal languages comes under this Austroasiatic language, and this Santali which also comes under this Austroasiatic language. Okay, and it is mainly spoken in this Munda language, and especially Ho, Mundari and as well as Karya and Santal people will also speak this language. And next one here is, it is written in the script called as Old Chiki script. and it invented in year 1925 by Pandit Raghunath Murmu. You may also get this question. I don't know how will you remember. Please make a note somewhere. So this script had been invented in 1925 by Pandit Raghunath Murmu. Okay, he was a Santali scholar and writer from Odisha. And actually, there is certain similarity with IVC script also. So in IVC script, we have alphabets plus numbers, and as well as we have pictographs, right? They used to draw even images. In the same way, in this script also, we have alphabets with 30 letters, and as well as we have symbols also, like Indus Valley script. They use symbols, numbers, and as well as alphabets in this Old Chaki script. And letters are pictographic, inspired by the natural objects. Like whatever the symbols they'll use, they resemble like earth symbol, hills symbol, river symbol, and tree symbol. Normally, tribal people live in the forest. Whatever they see, they try to make that kind of symbols, and they started writing this Old Chaki script by the symbols what they see. They resemble normally earth, hills, rivers, and as well as trees. Okay, so that is the thing, guys. Yeah, say this next article, India will soon become self-reliant in semiconductors. Okay, now you guys, you have to recall your memory. We discussed about semiconductor plants in India. In which states? How many we are going to come up with? 4. Okay, recently our government of India announced that we are going to have 4 new plants for semiconductor production. Which states? In AP, yeah, in AP 2. Next, Odisha. Come on, think, recall your memory. Not in Punjab. Odisha, AP is right. Kiran? Tamil Nadu? Check once. Check once. Okay, so open your books after your class and see where we are going to have this new 4 plans for semiconductor production in our country. So here, who gave the statement? Who is he? Chandrababu Naidu, na? So here Amit Shah, our home minister, he made a statement that India will soon become self-reliant in semiconductors. What is the meaning of self-reliant? What is the meaning of self-reliant? Okay, relying on ourselves. That means we are going to produce semiconductors which are used in our country, in India itself. That is called as self-reliant. That means still today we are not self-reliant. We dependent on other countries for getting of our semiconductors. From which countries we used to import the semiconductors? China, and next one is South Korea. South Korea and China are the 2 leading producers of the semiconductors, from which India is importing the semiconductors. So if you are importing everything, whatever we need from other countries, is that good? No, right? So what happens if suddenly those countries stop exporting of that to our country? Our sectors, electronic sectors, will be getting affected. So where will be using the semiconductor, especially in this electronics? We are going to use that. Without the semiconductors, this electronics will not be properly manufactured. So entire our manufacturing sector will be getting affected if you are not getting semiconductors. So because of this, our country wants to decrease the dependence or reliance on other countries for semiconductors, and now our government took lots of steps. One step is we are going to increase our production plans of semiconductors in India. So now let us see why the statement said by this home minister and what are the substantiation part, how he can say that yes, India can become self-reliant, and when India can become self-reliant, we have to see that. Okay, now let us see the context. Our Union Home Minister is confident that India will soon become self-reliant in the semiconductor industry, and now onwards, once we become self-reliant, we can also export that semiconductors to other countries. That means India will become from importing to export our country of semiconductors soon. That is the ideology of our Union Home Minister now. Okay, so where we can use the semiconductors, please make a note. We can use them in electronics, defense, automotive sector, and even emerging technologies like AI, 5G, 6G. In all these areas, we are using the semiconductors. If you are not getting the semiconductors from other countries, all the sectors will be getting badly affected in our country. Okay, now here we are focusing on production in our country so that we can reduce our imports, so that we can reduce our import dependence. Especially what happens here is, do you know, in this COVID-19 pandemic from 2019 to 2022, each and every sector got worstly affected. Why? Because every country went for national shutdown, national wide shutdown, international border shutdown also they did. So because of this, there is no movement of people, there is no movement of goods. So because of this, countries like India got badly affected because we are mostly importing many products from many other countries. So because of this, India learned a lesson from this COVID-19, and from that time onwards, we are focusing on Atmanirbhar, self-reliance. It is one example. Okay. So this article is saying that India came up with semiconductor mission and as well as production linked incentive scheme. And also India is attracting investments in the semiconductor production. So because of these developments, obviously we are making certain foundation steps for semiconductor plants in India. That is the one point. And recently we discussed about this Dhruv 64 microprocessor, and even we discussed about one chip which made by our country itself. Can you recall those two current affairs? Dhruv 64 is India's first indigenous microprocessor, and we discussed about one more chip which produced in India, which is indigenous. What is the name of that chip? Chip. Very good memory. On that two areas you will be getting question, and search in the YouTube shorts. I made a video regarding that. Very good, guys. And next one here is government is supporting MSMEs. What is this MSMEs? Micro, small, medium enterprises to produce semiconductors. And even government came up with PM Mitra Path, which is focusing on high-tech industries in our country. That is the second one. And next one here is Indian government is also focusing on bringing up of reforms, including digital infrastructure, improving of manufacturing sector, and as well as improving of business environment, and even increasing of workforce, young workforce. Recently, government came up with this employment linked incentive scheme, ELI scheme, and even government is focusing on R&D, that is research and development capabilities. So because of all these steps now, our home ministry is saying that yes, we can achieve self-reliance in the semiconductors. Okay, see this next article, guys. Title says, Rabies, the cruel and expensive disease of India's most impoverished. What is this article talking about? Rabies. So if you're getting any kind of diseases in news, obviously there is a high chance of getting question in your prelims. Okay, rabies is caused by what? Virus or bacteria? Dog bite causes this rabies, but it is caused by, in turn, which microorganism? It is bacteria or virus? Virus. Okay, do we have any treatment for this rabies? Okay, see here, if you see the gist of this article, what it is saying is, now in India, the major problem is stray dogs. Stray dogs are attacking especially children. Not only in urban areas, even the rural areas also the street dogs become a menace. And recently Supreme Court gave a judgment regarding street dogs control in Delhi. That means for sure you may get a question regarding rabies. Okay, in this way you can expect and prioritize the important topics in your prelims case. So if you see this gist, it is saying that rabies is endemic to India. What is meaning of endemic? It is seen only in India, not in other countries. Okay, rabies is endemic to India with a main reservoir of virus being dogs. In the dogs, only this rabies causing virus is present. So here these dogs are acting as a vector for causing of this rabies. Already I gave you one question in our earlier classes that you may get a question in your prelims by giving two columns. In one column they will be giving you the disease, in one column they will be giving you the vector. So different types of vectors we have: mosquitoes, house flies, sand flies, and now the dog. So here you have to make the list of vectors and as well as causing diseases as well. Okay, if you see here, this virus is present in the dogs, especially here days or weeks or months after this dog bite. If victim is not get vaccinated, for sure it may causes death. So what kind of symptoms we can see in this rabies is paralysis from feet to upwards, wherever the dog bite happened, from that area to top. Slowly paralysis will happen. Do you know this paralysis? Our nerves will not respond to stimuli. And next one here is cardiorespiratory failure can happen. And next one is finally that victim will fall down, and finally absence of stimuli and death of brain can happen, that will lead to death of that so and so patient. So in this way, slowly after weeks or months after this dog bite, we will get slowly the symptoms, and finally it will lead to death if you're not going for getting vaccinated. Have you ever seen after a dog bite you will be getting 14 injections, 15 injections like that? They are nothing but this vaccinations to prevent against rabies. If you're not taking that kind of vaccination, ultimately that will lead to this rabies case. And this one here is doctors note that when it comes to a small bleed or severe dog or animal bite, rabies vaccine alone is not enough. So we have to go for cleaning of dog bite wounds, and as well as country suffers from severe shortage of RIG. So we have to take one more injection called as RIG, not only this rabies vaccine. But in India, the problem here is inadequate RIG availability. So because of this, the number of deaths after this dog bite is increasing because of this RIG insufficiency or RIG shortage in our country. And next one here is we have to increase awareness about washing wounds from animals and seeking immediate medical help. And we have to ensure vaccine and as well as immunoglobulin which are available across the length and breadth of the country. And we have to go for speeding up of process. So these are the way forward which is mainly given in this article. So from here you may also get a case study in your ethics. For example, you are a municipal commissioner, and in your area there is increased number of stray dog bites, and number of children are losing life because of this bites, and even there is increased rabies cases also in the recent in the nearby government hospitals and as well as private hospitals. So as a municipal commissioner, what are the steps you are going to take to control this stray dogs? So in that way also you will be getting a case study in your ethics. You have to think about what are the measures you can take to control this rabies and as well as to control this stray dog bites, and how can you improve the safety of children in your area. So think on this, guys, and today I'll be giving a case study on this. Try to write a case study. It had been very long, right? Okay, we are going to write a case study on this today. Okay, now let us see certain facts regarding this rabies. There is a very high chance of getting a question regarding rabies. It is deadly zoonotic. What is meaning of zoonotic? Whenever any disease which is transmitted from animals to humans, that is called a zoonotic disease. Okay, it is caused by rabies virus and it attacks especially your nervous system. Very, very important. It is not affecting your lungs or it is not affecting your stomach or intestinal system. It is directly affecting your nerves. And it is RNA virus. Normally in virus, we have two types of virus, DNA virus and RNA virus. So it comes under RNA virus. What is RNA? What is the full form of RNA? What is RNA? Full form. Ribose nucleic acid. What is DNA? Deoxyribose nucleic acid. What is the difference between RNA and DNA? DNA is double stranded. RNA is single stranded. And in DNA, there is one oxygen group which is missing. But in RNA, we have that. And the major genetic material in humans is DNA. And in this RNA, we have different types of RNA, mRNA, tRNA, rRNA, but DNA is only one. So these are the major differences between RNA and DNA. You have to remember that. That is from your basic science. Okay, so this virus enter into our peripheral nervous system. So in our nervous system, we have central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Can you recall that in your science? Peripheral nervous system and central nervous system. In CNS, what it will come? Brain and spinal cord will come under your central nervous system, and different spines like cranial spines and as well as peripheral nerves will come under your cranial nerves, and spinal nerves will come under your PNS. Can you recall all those in your science? I think you might have studied in your 7th or 8th class. So just you need to have a small idea. Okay, here this virus will enter into your peripheral nervous system directly, and that will slowly migrate into brain. So because of this, it will cause us the death. Okay, so transmission, how it will be getting transmitted? This virus will spread through the saliva of infected animals to any healthy person. Yeah, that's it, guys. And up to around 99% of human rabies cases, dogs are responsible for this virus transmission. Okay. You see here, next article, doping menace. So here you have to know about what is doping. So have you seen in many movies which are related to this sports, sometimes they will be injecting certain injections, some drugs, so that their efficiency will be increased. Okay, so that is right or wrong? Before going into that, it is wrong, right? So especially many movies will be showing that. I can't recall right now exactly the movie name. Yeah, in that Vishwasa movie also, in that running event also, one girl who secured this first rank, she will be taking this kind of morphine, I guess. It is morphine, right? Okay, so they will be taking certain kinds of drugs so that their stamina, their efficiency will be increased. That is called as doping. Doping is prohibited in sports. But even though to get the ranks and to win in that games or race, they are doing this kind of activities. To prevent that kind of activities, our government came up with this National Anti-Doping Agency. Okay, National Anti-Doping Agency. So here the problem with this National Anti-Doping Agency is there is no funding for that. Funding is not sufficient, and as well as it is not independent. So because of this, it is not tackling with this doping properly in our country. So because of this, we need to take certain steps to improve the efficiency of this agency. So here there is a very high chance of getting question regarding this National Anti-Doping Agency. You have to know the facts regarding that. Okay, now let us see the facts. This National Anti-Doping Agency established by Government of India. The important objective is it will act as an independent anti-doping organization for India. What is the vision of this organization? Dope free sports. We have to conduct sports without doping. That is the main vision of this organization. It was registered society under Societies Registration Act of 1860. Okay, and it had been registered in year 2005. And the primary functions, what are the functions here? It has to implement anti-doping code to achieve complaints by all sport organizations in our country. In our country, whatever the sports organizations are there, they have to follow anti-doping protocols and to coordinate with dope testing program. So if you have any doubt of doping, what they'll do, they will just take out the blood sample from that person and they will test for any drugs. If you're taking any drugs, that concentration will be identified in your blood, and if that is identified, then you will be disqualified. So that kind of activities will be done by this agency. And next one is they want to promote anti-doping research and education. And next one is they want to adopt best practices, standards and quality systems to enable effective implementation, continuation of improvement in the programs, especially what are the programs that we are conducting. So all these programs should be like anti-doping. So there should not be any doping, taking of drugs. Okay, next article, very, very important article of the day, and you have to answer regarding this article. I'll ask you the questions. So now here this article is talking about Indian foreign policy. So in what is foreign policy? Foreign policy is a guiding principle like how India has to maintain relations with other countries. For example, India is having neighborhood first policy. It is a foreign policy regarding India, how it has to make relations with our neighborhood countries. With USA, we have one foreign policy. With Russia, we have one foreign policy. With Act East, India is also one example of one more policy like that. So think about 2025, guys. So what happened in our 2025? For example, take India, US. What happened between India and US in this 2025? Do we have good relations or bad relations? Okay, what are the examples that you have to say that India is having bad relations with US? Tariff, right? First one is tariff. How much percent of tariff US is imposing on Indian goods? Yes, 50% of tariffs. Next. Yes, H1B visa restrictions. What is this H1B visa restrictions? If US companies want to recruit any members from outside of their country, the company has to provide H1B visa for that person. For that, here that company has to pay certain amount for this US government. So what US did? US increased that amount to be paid by US company to US government by $1 lakh at a single time. So because of this, US companies, they cannot pay that much hefty amount to recruit other country people, so that it is restricting entry of which country people, especially India and as well as Chinese. That is one issue. Next. Donkey routes. Yes, donkey routes issue is there. So these donkey routes are nothing but illegal migration routes which mainly used by some people to enter into US. Next, US is sending back Indians into India, and they are using now not civilian aircrafts but military aircrafts to send back Indians. It is not a good sign. And US came up with this Russian Sanction Act. So because of this, what we did, we decreased our oil imports from Russia by 38%. Next, other things, what happened between India and US? Come on, think, you know this. Any other things that you want to add here? Yes, recently US made a statement. Donald Trump, what is the statement? We want to increase tariff on rice of India because India is dumping rice in US. That is a statement made by this Donald Trump. Yes, these are the examples that you have, so that you can say that India is not having good relations with US. Yes. Now tell me about India-Russia. What is happening between India and Russia? India and Russia. Friendship. We decreased oil imports because of this fear of what? Russian Sanction Act. Next. Did we finalize any equipments? S-500, very good. So we finalized S-500 Triumph missile deal with this Russia. Next. Recently, Putin came to India, right? So we are talking about trade improvement between India and Russia. Bhagavad Gita gifted. Okay, next, come on. Any other things that you want to say? TV broad. Okay, TV channels. That's common. Okay, now you guys tell about India, Bangladesh. What is happening between India and Bangladesh? Yes, increased political tensions. Why political tensions happened? So actually, if you want to know about this political tensions, if you want to go back to 1971. So what happened in this 1971? India-Pakistan war happened. In that 1971, Bangladesh got liberation and Bangladesh emerged as a country after this war. And from that time onwards, India and Bangladesh used to have very good relations. But now what happened? After once Bangladesh got freedom, Bangladesh said that we are going to give you reservation or quota for the people who participated in this war for education and as well as jobs. But now the present Gen Z, what they did, they started protesting against the government to remove this quota. And students, they selected certain people as leaders and they started fighting against this Bangladesh government. And especially they even attacked Bangladesh Prime Minister's home also. And what happened finally? Sheikh Hasina came out of Bangladesh and she is residing in India now. Okay, now what happened recently around 20 days or 15 days ago? The leader who supported the students to fight against this government has been shot dead in Bangladesh. So because of this, what happened? Again, students, they started protesting in this Bangladesh. And if there is political instability in Bangladesh, it will be also impacting India. Why? Because we are sharing direct boundary with this Bangladesh. Yes, and people will start migrating from this Bangladesh to India. Again, it will cause security issues and as well as border issues, etc. That is one thing. And next one here is we are having issue of Rohingyas. Rohingyas came from which country? Myanmar, and they entered into Bangladesh and as well as India. So it is a problem of India and Bangladesh together regarding this Rohingyas. And next, come on, think. We are having this Teesta River sharing issues between India and Bangladesh. Okay, so these are the issues. And now tell me about India, Myanmar, any other issues which are going on between India and Myanmar? Okay. From this Myanmar, we have a problem. What is that problem? Here we have India. Here we have Myanmar. We have open border. Open border, or we can say porous border. What is this porous border? At this border till 16 kilometers, people of India can move into Myanmar. Myanmar people can move into India without any visa. So normally if you want to go other countries, we need to have visa, right? So here, without this visa and passport, we can move freely. Why? Because these people, if they want any education facilities or health facilities for trade, everything, they have the free access. But now recently our government of India, what it said, so because of this free border, it is causing illegal migration and as well as smuggling of drugs, smuggling of arms, everything is happening. So because of this, we want to control this. So that our government cancelled this free movement regime recently between India and Myanmar. So because of this, again, the issues between India and Myanmar are increasing. And one more thing is what is happening here. Myanmar is recruiting Indians for what? For what? To work in cyber hubs. And they are forced to do cyber crimes. Recently, India did operation in Myanmar and we brought back around 200 Indians from Thailand, So actually this people were recruited in Myanmar, and this Myanmar people fled into Thailand. And after we did operation in Myanmar, we came to know that they went to Thailand. From this Thailand, we brought around 200 people back to India. That is also one important issue. That means this article is clearly saying that this 2025 is not at all a good year for our foreign relations. So from this 2025, we have to learn something and we have to do good in 2026 because we are going to have this 2026. That is about this article. Are you clear? I've understood. Okay, now let us see in short what it is saying, especially about US and as well as India relations. First 25% of tariff, next 25% again, totally 50%. It impacted especially apparels, that is nothing but textiles, germs, jewelry, seafood. And next one here is trade agreement had been not finalized, erosion of trust, sending back of Indians, and tightening of H-1B visa. All these are issues between India and US. And if you say regarding China, so regarding China, something good happened. We restored flights and as well as visas had been increased, and even pilgrimage also had been increased between India and China. But the problem here is there is no resolution across this LAC region. And regarding this Russia also, we are increasing our relations. We want to increase our trade, but we decreased our oil imports because of this Russian Sanction Act. And we finalized this S-500 Triumph missile deal with Russia. Okay, and next one here is there is lots of volatility which is there in this Indo-Pacific region also. And especially across the world, Russia-Ukraine issue is going on. India mediated, but final result, there's no final result. And even we have Gaza issue, and recently United Nations also declared that genocide happened in this Gaza. Yes, yeah, those are the things. And next one here is regarding Pakistan, Pahalgam terror attack, and we did this Operation Sindoor. We forget this Pakistan. Okay, and India also started going to different countries to showcase about zero terror tolerance or zero terror policy of India in different countries. And even regarding Pakistan, Saudi Arabia is supporting this Pakistan. And recently in 2025, Saudi Arabia and as well as Pakistan made an agreement. In that agreement, Saudi Arabia, what it said, if any country is doing war on Pakistan, we also enter and we are also going to fight against that country. So like that, 2025, it is not at all a good year for India. That is the thing which mainly said. And this article is saying that what can be done in this 2026. So it is saying that we have to adopt principle-based diplomacy, and we have to ensure consistency of relations, and we have to formulate clear grand strategy for countering of Chinese influence, and we have to strengthen our multi-alignment with different institutions, and we have to revive our neighborhood first policy because it is not working good. And next one here is we have to improve trade agreements, and we have to enhance regional security. Yeah, we have to lead our global south agenda in G20, BRICS, etc. And we have to improve domestic foundations, etc. So these are the things which mainly said here. What can be done in 2026 case? And see the practice questions, and you have to answer these questions. First question, consider the following statements regarding anti-doping framework in India. India ratified UNESCO International Convention Against Doping in Sports in 2007. Next one is the National Anti-Doping Act 2022 provides statutory status to NADA and National Dope Testing Laboratory. NADA is fully funded and controlled by World Anti-Doping Agency. So which is the extreme statement in these three? Come on, think and tell me. Third is extreme. Why? Because it is fully. So here in the title itself, it is saying that no proper funding. How can we say it is fully? So with observation, you have to eliminate certain statements. So this is for sure wrong. You have left with two options, one only and two only. And actually I said that because of one act, we came up with this NADA. That means it is a statutory body. It is right. So here answer is 1 and 2. So like that you have to simply come up with the answers regarding this prelims question. Now see this next question with reference to rabies. Consider the following statements. Mass dog vaccination is the most cost-effective long-term strategy for human rabies prevention. Rabies is completely absent in wildlife reservoirs in India. Post-exposure prophylaxis includes immediate wound washing and rabies vaccination. Options are 1 only, 1 and 3 only, 2 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. Yeah, see this now. So normally what we are doing, so we have to go for vaccination. That is the thing we are focusing on. Why? To prevent this rabies. The simple thing, we are going for vaccination for humans after bite and as well as for these dogs before bite. So this is right. Completely, it is an extreme word which is changing entirely the statement of this, meaning of the statement, right? Completely, drastically, suddenly, like that. If you're getting that kind of words, for sure that statement will be wrong. So if it is absent, how and why this article will be in news? Think in that way. If it is completely absent, then why it will be news? Why our editors are writing that news? They will be not writing, right? So this will be right, wrong. And next one is after getting off this dog bite, what we'll do? First we'll be washing the wounds. And next one is vaccination. What is the answer? 1 and 3. B will be the right answer. Within 1 week, within 1 month, like that, based on your body, you'll be getting that symptoms. So within that 1 week, this vaccine will be activating in your body. Now see next question with reference to objectives of NATGRID. Consider the following statements. First one is it consolidates data from disparate sources to generate actionable intelligence for counterterrorism. NATGRID provides direct public access to citizen data for transparency. And next one is it handles thousands of data queries monthly from authorized agencies. How many statements are right and which statement is right? Come on, think. Third one is for sure right. Next. Is it providing directly people to get access to this data? Who will be getting access to this data? Police and as well as investigating agencies. That means the statement is right or wrong? 1 and 3 is the right answer. Are you understanding how to solve the questions? Next, see this Santali language. Consider the following statements about Santali language. It belongs to Munda branch of Austroasiatic language family. Santali was included in 8th schedule of constitution through 92nd Constitutional Amendment Act 2003. It is primarily written in Devanagari script. 1 and 1 and 2 na, 1 only na. I said you to write 8th schedule language list, no? If you write that, you will be understanding. Yes, Santali is part of this 8th schedule only. So first one is right, second one is right. It is written in not this Devanagara. There is one script, Old Chiki script. Are you understanding? So in this way, they will be changing. So what is the right answer? B, 1 and 2 only. Okay, so these are the important topics that happened in our today's Hindi newspaper, guys. By this, I'm concluding. Thank you so much for watching. And if you really like this class, please do hit the like button. And please do share this class to your friends. And do subscribe to Rathod Science Academy. And if you want to get the PDF of this class, you can join our Telegram channel. Link is given in description box. And even you can follow us on our Instagram page, where we are providing mains question with more answer and also current affairs question with answer for your prelims and as well as current affairs in short. Don't miss that, guys. Thank you so much.